Getting into wildlife photography has never been more approachable than it is today. The technology has come so far. Camera systems are getting so good, and it's never been as relatively affordable as it is now. But what system do you go with? What factors lead into that decision? We're going to talk about that today. I'm Sean Thomas. I'm a nature and wildlife photographer based out of the Northern Virginia area. Spend a lot of time shooting birds. And let's just dive right into it. All right, so getting into it. Full disclosure, I shoot Nikon. And I shoot Nikon for a lot of reasons, and we're going to talk mainly about why I think Nikon is the best brand for getting into wildlife photography today. This is not a Nikon versus Canon or Sony war. All of them have their benefits, and we're going to talk about that a bit too. But there are some distinct factors, I believe, that really set Nikon apart in this space and make it the system of choice specifically around wildlife photography. So let's talk a little bit about what is necessary in wildlife photography to start, right? So to do wildlife photography, you need fast and reliable autofocus. Huge bonus if you have subject detection, animal autofocus, and any of those other things that have become very common in today's world, but are incredibly, incredibly useful. Good weather sealing, because you're taking these cameras out in crazy conditions all over the place, and you really need that. Long focal lengths, and this is the big one. Wildlife is skittish, especially birds. They are tiny, they are skittish, they fly. Long focal lengths are a necessary component. For larger mammals, I would say 400. For birds, I would say 600 minimum, up into the 800 range. Light gathering and being able to gather light at a distance. This matters a little bit less today because modern denoise has come so far. So you can get a higher aperture lens and not really run into any serious issues with it because you can get very great and usable photos. And then, we talked about weather sealing, but also durability in very harsh environments. Where Nikon really works is in lenses. But we're going to talk a little bit about all of these components. So autofocus performance. Real world performance for birds in flight, the way that I shoot, Nikon stuff works great. Is it the best autofocus on the market? Honestly, absolutely not. I don't think it is. But it's functional. It tracks well, and once it gets on a subject, it's very good at being sticky. It also has eye detection for those animals, which also works quite well. Ergonomics and usability is another really big one. Every single Nikon camera I have used, every lens attached to a Nikon camera, especially in the S series, the lenses are balanced so well to the camera body. They work great. And the durability and build quality, the weather sealing is great. I have been caught in rainstorms with my camera. It has worked fine. The bigger lenses, like the 600 f4, is a tank. I have dropped that lens, not on purpose, mind you. Like, I have had a clip fail and it has fallen and everything has functioned perfectly. So I'm very happy with everything that Nikon offers from a technology perspective. However, the thing that they do really, really well, and I kind of alluded to it a minute ago, what they're doing that nobody else is doing is glass. And when you come into wildlife in that super telephoto space, autofocus is important, build quality is important, and you have to have those. But glass is everything. And if you're just getting into this, and you're starting out and you're trying to find a system that you can grow with, I firmly believe that Nikon is the only system on the market today that offers that advantage. Because here's the thing, every company has the $2,000 give or take 200 to 600, or in some like a 400 to 800 equivalent. That exists across the board. They are great lenses. They're typically f6.3s, sometimes up to f8. I came over to Nikon as a Fuji shooter when I got into wildlife because Fuji didn't offer super telephoto primes that were kind of mid-range. They do now, but they didn't then. What Nikon has, though, is a lens set for every part of the market, every segment of the market. And I still firmly believe that they are the only camera manufacturer that is hitting every set of the market. So they have that, you know, roughly $2,000, 200 to 600. For them, it's a 180 to 600. They have the $13,000 to $15,000, you know, 400 f2.8 and 600 f4. Now, the benefit of those lenses, admittedly, they're doing something that nobody else is doing, and I think Canon is about to do this, but right now, no one has done it yet, is that they have a built-in teleconverter. So you flip a switch on the 600 f4 and you're an 840, which is amazing from an innovation perspective, a field usability perspective. For the birds that I shoot, being able to quickly swap between 600 and 840 without losing optical clarity, without, you know, while maintaining the benefits of having a prime lens, like it's one of those things that, like, I don't think I could ever go back to not having that. Like, I just don't. It's amazing. But where they are really different is in that middle sector where nobody else is playing. They have a 400 4.5, a 600 6.3, and an 800 6.3. The 600 and the 800 are phase Fresnel element lenses, which come with some trade-offs, but they're exceptionally light. So that 600 6.3 is 3 pounds. The 800 6.3 is 5.25 pounds. I used to shoot the 800 6.3 until I got the 600 f4. These lenses are so light, so quality, and respectively, it's very difficult for me to say this, respectively inexpensive for their comparison capabilities. Look, none of this stuff is inexpensive, and I want to be sensitive to that fact, because like the 800 6.3 is like a $6,400 lens. But when you compare that to the 600 f4, that's a $15,000 lens. That's a huge price difference. You know, the 600 6.3 I think is 5.5. The 400 4.5 is a 4.5K lens. There's nobody playing in that mid-range space. So, you know, you start wildlife, you get your 200 to 600, and then you go, oh, I really want to get into primes, and I want the sharpness and quality of a prime. And you go, oh, now I need 15 grand. Well, with Nikon, you don't. You can take phenomenally good pictures with a significantly less expensive lens using the phase Fresnel element. I'll actually pull up a couple pictures that I've taken with the 800 6.3 and the 400 4.5 right in here. Okay, now that we're back, I'll be honest, I don't actually notice a huge difference in image quality between the 800 and the 600 f4, which the more expensive lens. I get better low light performance with the 600, sure. I get a little bit better bokeh quality because of the phase Fresnel element can mess with backlit bokeh. And I get the 600 and 800 kind of in one instead of just being stuck at 800. But outside of that, I'm also carrying a 2-pound heavier lens. It's a lot more to manage. I really think where they are special is in the lenses. There's just nobody else doing it, from the built-in teleconverters in their high-end primes to having the mid-range primes. Also, just as a side note, the 180 to 600 is phenomenal as a piece of glass. Like, comparison tests that I have seen and shooting it myself, it's incredibly sharp, on the money, like a great lens. Anyway, that's the difference. That's what Nikon is doing that nobody else is doing today, is putting out lenses that kind of cross the whole market, and putting out good lenses that cross the whole market in that super telephoto space. To be fair and respectful, there's really not a bad camera system today. They're all good, right? Canon has wonderful color science, probably a stronger autofocus. Their menu systems and their bodies, I think, are designed a little bit better. But they don't have the same number of compact super telephoto primes. And again, that's where they're missing. Like, they have f11 variants, which are shootable, but you're not getting the same benefit from it. And they're just now starting to build the built-in teleconverter lenses, presumably because Nikon did it, and that kind of changed things for everybody. You know, Sony probably has the best autofocus humanly available on the market. Their bodies are super lightweight. Their lens selection is the same. They have a great selection of third-party lenses, and there are some great third-party super telephoto lenses, but there are far less. Like, this is a very specialized segment. You know, super telephotos for wildlife and bird photography, and I really think that, you know, the most focus in that segment is being put on by Nikon at the moment. They have that sweet spot of performance, usability, lens innovation, and price, where they're focused on the market that I shoot in, where I don't feel like most other manufacturers really are. So, all that being said, who is it right for? Pro wildlife photographers, obviously. I am not that. I fall more into the hobbyists who loves to do wildlife photography, but also loves to talk about wildlife photography. Those PF lenses were an amazing entry point into me as a photographer, and something that I used almost every day. You know, anyway, look, I wanted to kind of put this together so that we could so I could talk through why it is that I shoot Nikon. And this is a conversation that I actually have a surprising amount of people when they're thinking about changing camera systems. And realistically, you know, changing camera systems is incredibly expensive. Getting into digital photography the first time is incredibly expensive. And once you pick a system, that's where you are, right? Like, it's hard to change. As someone who changed from Fuji before wildlife to Nikon when I started shooting wildlife, it's difficult to make that change. It's also costly to make that change. So you really want to make these decisions one time and then be done, right? That way you can invest into a system and you can grow that system over time. So hopefully this is helpful in some way to explain the reasoning of why I went with Nikon. I'm not saying it is the best system. I am saying that I think, my personal opinion, is that for wildlife, they are putting more focus on high quality and affordable glass than anybody else. And when they have the other features and autofocus that works well, durable bodies and all those things, there's just no competing with the company that's putting the focus there, right? Like, how do you compete with that unless you start putting focus there too? Canon and Sony very well may, and personally I think they should. More choice is always a good option. But right now I think Nikon is leading the charge, and they offer the best support and best set of options for wildlife photographers, and that is why I shoot Nikon. Let me know what you guys shoot. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the opinions. Drop a comment in, say hello. For anybody who's tuned in to any of my videos so far, I highly appreciate all of you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one, which will probably be how I pack a bag to take a astrophotography trip to Utah, which is going to be a whole series coming up soon. See ya.